French Revolution was not the first time the lower class had gotten fed up with the rich people's shit. France has a long tradition of uprising. But what does all of this have to do with the guy named Jacques? Come on, I'll show you. If you happen to find yourself a French peasant in the middle of the 1300s, rest assured, you have lost at the lottery of life. Because your life pretty much consists of a triple-decker shit sandwich that you are trying to choke down until you die. Layer 1, your country's being invaded by this asshole, Edward the Black Prince. Homeboy is not fucking around. At the Battle of Poitiers, he is able to outflank the French king. The French noble John II is captured in the battle and held for ransom. His nickname might have been John the Good, but he wasn't very good at getting away. Anyway, his son Charles the Dauphin is going to take over in his stead. To get dad back, he's going to tax the shit out of, you guessed it, the peasantry. He tries to tax the rich too, but they tell him to get fucked. At least shit like that doesn't happen today. Anyway, we're losing the war, our king is captured, and we're being taxed to get his ass back. Not great. But wait, there's more. Because a year after the Battle of Poitiers, what should come ripping through the continent of Europe? You guessed it, the Black Plague. So now as I am busting my hump trying to pay the king's ransom, half the village just died. And I am fully into the second layer of the pile of shit that is my life. But wait, there's more. Because after the Battle of Poitiers, the Black Prince fucked off back to England tout suite. Post-haste might be more appropriate. Anyway, he needs to make sure his prize doesn't get stolen from him. And when he does that, he dismisses all of his troops. Because why would I continue to pay for your food and transportation when I don't have to? So now you got a bunch of armed dudes just hanging out in France who aren't French, or Welsh, or Scottish, or German mercenaries with no real way to get back home. And maybe no real interest in going home. But I still gotta eat. And it turns out when I have a sword and armor and you don't, taking your shit is really, really easy. So why don't I just keep doing that? And so you get bands of soldiers, 20 to 50 strong, roaming the countryside, pillaging as they pleased with no real way to stop them. Since a lot of the French army had just been destroyed in the Battle of Poitiers. And so as your crops are being destroyed and half your family is dying, you need to make sure that your taxes are being paid timely. As the institution you are paying taxes to, ostensibly to protect you, is disintegrating in front of you. It's no wonder people thought this was the end of the world. The most dangerous thing in the world is an animal who is backed into a corner with nothing to lose. And the French peasantry feels much that way. And they begin to vent their frustrations in something known as the Jacquerie. Jacques was a derogatory term given to the French peasants, since so many of them were named Jacques. John being one of the most common names in the world. Juan, Jacques, Sean, all the same. Anyway, the Jacques are pissed. You can't be pissed at the plague. You can't be pissed at God. But I can get pissed at the ruling class, particularly those taxing the shit out of me and those that are supposed to be protecting me. And this is where uprisings get interesting. Because in theory, yes, these guys are all fucking dickheads. We're exploiting the labor of the individuals, and that's not just. But then the rubber meets the road. And you read about the acts of justice meted out on the nobility, and it doesn't seem satisfying. For instance, one of the most famous stories of the Jacquerie involves a knight who was caught by the peasants and then dispatched. But wait, there's more, because they're going to put this guy in a spit and rotisserie this dude, as his wife and children watch. Supposedly, as the cook time is nearing completion, they take a piece of their victim and force his new widow to take a little bite. Till a group of 10 or 12 men take turns, shaking her hand before she too is sent to join her husband along with her children. And this is where it gets rough, because I can nod along that the system is unjust. But somehow that does not feel like justice either. And this injustice begins spreading from town to town. Now eventually enough of the dudes with swords and armor get together and say, we don't want that to happen to us. And so they go out and mow the peasants down like grass. Because it turns out when you have armor and a sword and the other person doesn't, they're pretty easy to defeat. When asked afterward why they did this, some peasants said they just went along with what everybody else was doing. Mob mentality is a thing. But let's say you're a peasant in France in the 1300s. You're dealing with the plague and high taxes, buying into a system that is clearly not working. What do?